Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Transformational Tuesday with Tasha. I am your host, Tasha Scott, and thank you so much for tuning in tonight. For everyone who is joining for the first time, thank you, and allow me to introduce myself. So, I'm the owner of Maximized Growth LLC, which is a training and development company right here in Montgomery, Alabama. And I am passionate about communication, about self awareness, and literally helping people to learn how to work together. So, teamwork. For everyone who has been watching regularly, welcome back, y'all. I have been hearing some great feedback from people who watch the replays. So if you're watching the replay, welcome. And what I always say is, even if you're watching the replay, I would love to know in the comments section. So please continue to be engaged. I love reading you all's comments and I love the interaction. So we've been on this journey of atomic habits and we are in week 12. This is episode 12, and we're covering chapter 12 tonight. I want to remind those who have been watching that we are also a podcast on YouTube. So if you are watching on Facebook and if you're watching on LinkedIn, I would love for you to go at some point to visit YouTube and subscribe to my channel because I definitely need your help getting the word out. We're on a mission, y'all. We are helping each other because this is definitely a journey for all of us, myself included, to really learn how to master these atomic habits. And one of the things that we've learned on this journey is that our habits are only as strong as our identity. And really what it boils down to is who do we want to become in the process. So I want to kind of do a backtrack and review tonight before we dive into some new material. We've been talking all about how habits, these laws of behavior change, how we have to make them obvious, we have to make them attractive, we have to make them easy. And we're going to dig into that, make it easy tonight. But I want to revisit one of our sessions earlier, and that was in episode 6, if you're keeping track. And we really talked about this whole environmental change, how a lot of times we have to make our habits, our environments really easy so that we can have the right habits for sure. And there was one particular story that Mr. Clear brought up in here. Let me go to my comments, just make sure I see who's keeping track with me. There was one particular story. Hey, Sandra, you actually made it tonight. Hope you're traveling safely. um, Mr. Clear in the book, he used one of the stories of a hospital. And this particular hospital, they wanted to really promote water drinking more. They wanted to promote healthy eating more. And they wanted to do this without having to make this grand announcement. So, what they did is changing the environment, they repositioned things. They put the water by the cash registers and they put the sodas further back at the cash registers or in places that people frequented more. They started putting healthier food. So I would imagine things like fruits, veggies, things that were easy for people to grab. They put all of that up front and made the environment more conducive for people to choose healthier things on purpose. And when they did that, the statistics, the results they got is that the soda sales actually dropped by 11.4%, and their sales of bottled water actually increased by 25.8%. And they made all these adjustments again without saying a word to anyone. What they did is they changed the environment. And when we had this conversation with each other, we all kind of challenged each other to say, what can we do in our own environments to support our habits? So one of the things that I've done personally is when it comes to my vitamins, I put all my vitamins out specifically and strategically in places where it's easier now for me to make sure that taking my vitamins daily is a habit. One of the other things that I've done is made sure that I've had bottles of water or my jug of water, where it was easier for me to drink water instead of using an excuse that I don't have anything. So we talked about that. And I wanted to bring that to your attention tonight around the environmental changes, because we're going to talk about that even more in our content tonight. And then last week, we talked about motion versus action. And we talked about how it is really easy for us to be in motion and go through the motions, but not really be productive. And we talked about, there were some examples that he gave last week, and he talked about how you can have the motion of saying, if I outline these ideas for articles I want to write, then sure, that may be a great article one day. That's a motion, that's going through the motions, versus taking the actual action to say, or to sit down and say, I'm actually writing. You could use that or substitute that for anything. It could be wanting to eat healthy. It could be I want to read more. I want to improve in whatever area. And he talked about how being in motion is easy, because what we're doing is we're planning, we're strategizing, we're doing all the things that we know to do to prepare. And what we found out was that those are not bad things. Where it starts to fall apart is we start using those things as a crutch, and we start procrastinating. And so then we stop making progress because we're in planning mode so much. And we talked about last week that we really want to make sure that we're making things easy for ourselves. And sometimes taking action means getting out of our comfort zone. And one of the things that I shared is I literally put myself one time when I needed to overcome a fear, because I was in motion and preparation stage of everything I was fixing to do to be able to become comfortable on camera. I had to shock myself. I had to get myself out of my comfort zone. And I created my own 30-day challenge, to where every day in the month of December of that particular year, I vowed to do a video. And it wasn't like, because the way that I was doing it, I made it this major production, bought all this fancy equipment, and recorded these videos. No one ever saw the videos because I was in preparation mode and thought it was never right. I was trying to be perfect with it, until I created this 30-day challenge for myself, literally just pulled out my cell phone and created a video every single day for that month. And it helped me to get over the fear of being on camera. And so what I had to do was stop relying on just the motions only. I had to take action. And because of that, I'm able to become more comfortable today. Now I still get nervous leading up to it, but fear doesn't paralyze me or doesn't stop me the way it did. And so I think it's crucial for us to understand that motion is a good thing. Planning and preparation is definitely a good thing. But if all we're doing is planning and it becomes procrastination, then we are not making progress. So that's what we talked about last week. And we also said that one of the reasons why we procrastinate, y'all, to be honest, it's because we don't want to be judged. So we're busy trying to be perfect. We're busy trying to make it right. It's never ready. It's never good enough, because what I mentioned is, if we're really honest, we don't want to be judged. We don't want to be criticized. And so we use this as an excuse. But some of the people that were on last week committed and said, you know what? I'm going to create a 30-day challenge. I'm going to get unstuck. I'm going to get out of my way. And if that was you, if you're on here and you were one of the ones that committed, I would love to know, how are things going for you? Did you take a step? Did you share with somebody? What did you do with the information that you heard last week? Because one of the things that I always say, we are great consumers of information. Like, look at my background. I love information. I love to read. I love learning something new. But what good is it is if all we're doing is consuming the information, but we never do anything with it. So my challenge to you, before we even get started on what we're going to talk about tonight, is Do me this favor. Go grab you a notebook, grab the note, an app in your phone and take notes. But my challenge is if you're going to show up here tonight or every week that you're on with me, I want you to walk away with at least one nugget, one action step that you can say, you know what? I may not be where I want to be. I may not even see the ends where I could be, but what I'm going to commit to is I am going to take a step. And in the very beginning of this study, that was what Mr. Clear told us. He said, really, it's the 1% change. It's the 1% improvement that has the greatest impact on us. And sometimes we can get so bogged down in the motions that we're so busy trying to be perfect and get it right that we fail to make progress. Somebody here on LinkedIn says, "Hi, Tasha. Not sure if you remember me." And all it says is LinkedIn user. So I'm not sure who this is. Um, oh, cool. Somebody from my old business. I used to have a court reporting business. I don't know who you are because all it says here is LinkedIn user, but thank you so much. Thank you. It's really cool to reconnect with people that I've met or interacted with in the past. So, y'all, that was all a preview for where we are tonight. And tonight, we're still on the third law of behavior change, and that is make it easy. And just to remind you of the first two, the first one was make it obvious, the second one was make it attractive. And so the third one that we're on this journey tonight is make it easy. And what he talked about here, James Clear, he talked about the law of least effort. And he says in here, let me get my notes here, that typically, and y'all would probably agree, typically as human beings, we tend to follow the law of least effort without even knowing it. Like literally, we're looking for the easy route because things that challenge us, things that are hard, we sometimes avoid without even knowing it. And a lot of times that's why it's hard for us to be consistent with our habits, is because we've complicated it so much that it's anything but easy. And as human beings, we gravitate toward the less work. We gravitate towards the things that are not complicated. For example, how many of y'all, and I'm guilty of this, you will go buy groceries and you've got a refrigerator, cabinet, pantry full of food. You've got everything that you need, but then you'll turn around and you'll order some takeout food because after buying all those groceries, the last thing you want to do is cook. Anybody guilty? Be honest, or am I just the only one? This is an example of we gravitate to the thing that requires the less work. And that's nothing wrong with that, nothing at all, but it's a great example of what we're talking about tonight. And thank you, Mertice. I'm not the only one out here on this limb by myself. Thank you. um, Mr. Clear talks about wisdom, and he said, conventionally and traditionally, the wisdom thing is that motivation is the key to habit change. We're saying if I feel like it, if I'm motivated. And he says maybe if we really wanted to do something, we actually would do it. But the problem is we have days where we feel like it and we have days that we don't feel like it, right? And that's all of us. And he says, so the truth of the matter is that there are days where our real motivation is, I just want to be lazy. And I know that's not an insult. I promise you, it's not an insult. That is human nature. Is I don't want to have to work this hard. I want to do what's convenient. And he said, he said, it's actually a smart strategy if you think about it. Hear me out. He's saying that's not bad. That's how we're wired. So if we know how we're wired, know yourself. If we know how we're wired, then why are we trying to make it complicated when it comes to our habits? We might need to learn something from that and just be more strategic about it. And he said, we are naturally motivated to do what is easy. Everything we do requires an amount of energy, every single thing we do. So it's natural for us as human beings to choose the thing that requires the less energy. So right now, I just want to say to myself and y'all, first of all, let's give ourselves some grace here. Give ourselves some grace. Some people think it has to be hard in order for it to work. It has to be complicated. And I'm probably guilty of this probably more than most, because the type of personality that I have, sometimes the easy things are not as obvious to me. It could be literally like ABC, but sometimes in my mind, I complicate things and I make it so difficult that I don't even get started on the most obvious thing in front of me. Prime example is when I told you about me wanting to do videos. I literally spent money to buy a DSLR camera, a green screen, lights, and I'm not talking about cheap stuff either, y'all. I hired a makeup artist to come to my office. I did the whole shebang just because I wanted to start doing videos. Where the most obvious thing, which I learned after the fact and after spending money, which I did end up selling some of that stuff, but I learned after the fact that the most obvious thing was to pull out my phone and just shoot a video. And how many of us, we know what to do? That's not our issue. It's just that we have added all these extra layers and steps to things that the thing that we know to do seems unreachable. It seems untouchable because we've complicated it. And what he's saying is that as human beings, we are naturally motivated to do what is easy. So, what we really need to do is we need to look at that and learn from it. Here's some things that are habits to us that we don't even realize that we're doing them. Scrolling our phone, habits, because it doesn't require that much energy. Sometimes we do it to our own detriment where we know we should be doing something else, but what are we doing? We're sitting right here doing this and we're scrolling our phone because it doesn't require that much energy, right? Hello? Am I talking to anybody? Check in our email. That might be the thing that we know that we should be working on this project or this proposal or this report or this training or whatever that looks like. And we'll find an excuse to say, I'm just going to check my mail. We could use our house as an example. I've done this with my own office. I'll say, now there's times I do need to clean and there's times I need to. But when I start using it as an excuse, and I know that I should be working on something else, that's when it becomes a problem. Watching TV, we can do things just, mindlessly. And he said, we steal so much of our time because these things can be performed almost without any effort and they become more convenient than the thing that we know we should do. And he says, in a sense, habit is just an obstacle to getting what we really want. He uses some examples. For example, dieting can become a habit, but and it's an obstacle because what we really want, the result is to get fit. He says meditation is an obstacle, but what we really want is to get calm. Journaling is an obstacle, but what we really want is just to think clearly. And so sometimes we settle for cheap substitutes for the results that we really desire. And we settle for things when we really have complicated the other thing and we've talked ourselves out of it. And it's not that we really want to do those things. It's not that, think about it. I'm going to use scrolling, for example. It's not that we want to sit there and just scroll all day. It's just something about that just makes us calm and takes our mind off, and it distracts us. It It distracts us. And you could substitute that for anything. Sandra here says, so true. What's easy and what avoids judgment is easy, but keeps me from growing. Comparison with others stalls me too. I'm learning to trust who I am and what I have to offer. Yeah, same here, Sandra. So I can use the whole scrolling thing as an example if nobody else wants to even admit it or whatever. But sometimes I can get caught up in that. And I've had to on purpose. I've had to unfollow, I've had to block, I've had to on purpose remove things from me that I made easy that really were like what you say, Sandra, stop me from growing. Or those things fueled insecurity or they fueled comparison. And it took me out of the space and place that I should be in that was conducive for growth. So, again, we have to really know ourselves. And we're talking tonight about this behavioral change of make it easy, and we've made the wrong things too easy and we've made the right things too complicated. This is good, y'all. This is good. I'm talking to myself tonight. I do every week, but this is really good. Mertice, thank you for that fire. We have made the wrong things too easy and we've made the right things too complicated. And we've talked ourselves out of growth opportunities. Hello? And y'all are probably thinking about some things right now in your own life that you could literally go to the date, the time, or the season and really uncover why this happened or why this didn't happen. Mr. Claire says you don't really want the habit itself, you want the outcome that the habit delivers. What do we really want? A lot of times, what we want is just peace. We want to be relaxed. We want to be calm. We don't want the pressure. We don't want the friction. Um, we just don't want anything that just doesn't feel right. But if we're not careful, we can be mistaken because growth was never meant to be in a comfort zone, right? Um, Mr. Clear says the greater the obstacle, the more difficult the habit, the more friction there is between you and your desired state. He says that's why it's crucial to make your habits so easy that you'll do them even when you don't feel like it. One of the things that I've had to make a habit is working out. I've had to make that a habit. I've had to up my support system. I've had to, on purpose, do things. And so making it easy. So here's some things that I had to do to make it easy. One is put it in my calendar like an appointment. So I couldn't say I don't have time. And even with my schedule, I don't have the same schedule because I'm in business full time. I don't have the same schedule every week. My days are different. I don't have like my Mondays are the same or Tuesday, Wednesday, all through the week. It's not the same. And so when I got the support of, I have two trainers, a married couple, shout out to Ray and Gail Atkinson. And what I had to do was just say, be honest with them and say, here's what my challenge is. I can't commit to the same time every week. And so what they said is, that's fine, we'll work with you. So a lot of times what happens is I'm working with Ray because he's more flexible. And every Friday or Saturday, I literally can reach out and say, here's my schedule for the following week. And I make an appointment. That's how I make it easy for me, is I make an appointment. And every week, my 3 days may be different, but because of the consistency, because of the accountability and the support, I have made it easier for me to commit to this habit. And then every month, we're doing measurements, we're doing weight, we're checking in. And so now I'm committed to the results of what that looks like. And what I was doing was making it harder on myself because the times that I wasn't making an appointment, it was almost like every time I stopped doing it, I'd have to do the work to get back to the place of just the momentum of working out. And I was working myself harder instead of just having a consistent pattern. Even though my weeks are different, my I still commit to 3 days a week. It just may not be the same 3 days. And then what I also did is I have some workout equipment here that I can do in between sessions. And so that was another way that I could make it easier for myself and not complicate the process. And here's the thing, y'all. If you make your good habits more convenient, you'll be more likely to follow through on them. Are you thinking about something right now? If you are, put yes in the comments. Are you thinking about something right now that you can honestly say, yeah, I can see how I made that complicated? Just put yes in the chat. I would love to know who I'm speaking to. If you can say, yep, I can see how I made that thing complicated when it really didn't have to be. Just type yes in the comment for me. And here's the thing, y'all. Remember, I said growth never happened in our comfort zones. And so there's going to be times where it's going to feel like we're being stretched. We have growing pains. And so we don't need to substitute. I mean, I'm sorry, not substitute. That's not the right word I meant to say. We don't need to confuse our growing pains or our times of growth and say, because growth got hard, I need to stop. Sometimes we're going to be stretched. Sometimes it might not be convenient. But again, we don't want to make sure we're not substituting the wrong things because growth got challenged and our growth, we were stretched. We want to make sure that in the process, we're trusting the process. And here's the thing, I'm a person of faith. I always say we trust God in the process too. So that's where self-awareness is crucial for you to know yourself, know the seasons that you're in, and have the right support and accountability to help you. On tough days, it's crucial to have as many things working in your favor as possible because there will be tough days. So you can literally overcome the challenges and recover faster from things if you on purpose have enough things working for you, enough of things that you've had some progress, because everything won't be broken. You won't be working on everything at the same time. Chances are there's going to be one or two areas that you're in process in, and everything else may just be business as usual. So on those tough days, you want to make sure that you are focused on the business as usual stuff while you're being stretched, while you're being challenged over here. And I promise you will recover faster. You will grow through this. John Maxwell has a saying, and he says, growth over goals. It's not about the goals themselves. It's about the growth, because when you can grow into the person you're called to be, you will accomplish those goals. Even James Clear at the beginning of this talked about the identity piece. So who are we becoming in the process? That's what matters most. The habits that we have now are going to support that person that we are being groomed to. And if the habit is not conducive to that, if it's taking you away from it, that's where you have that false sense of easiness. And sometimes, like I said, we have that false sense because we're looking for that quick relief. We're looking for that quick fix. And sometimes growth is not a quick fix. Sometimes it literally is a trusting the process and growing and stretching through it. The idea is not just to do things that are easy, but to make it as easy as possible in the moment, to do the things that will pay off in the long run. And one of the things that I'm learning to do now, I've talked about this before, is I'm learning, y'all, just to relax and enjoy the process. I know that sounds crazy, I know, but I'm learning how to enjoy the process, enjoy the moments. Now, that has not always been easy for me because I'm the type of person, I need to know where this is going. I need to know what's at the end, you know? And what I found is that I'm so focused on the result and how it's going to work out and all of this, that I'm not even enjoying myself. And I am just learning right now, literally in real time. I'm just learning how to enjoy the moments and learning how to pay attention when friction does rise up in me. Chances are, this is just me, I don't know about you, but chances are when friction rises up, when resistance rises up in me, chances are I have stopped relaxing, I have stopped enjoying, and I have shifted my focus on the wrong things. That's probably what's happening in that moment. Before I can look at anything or anybody else, I literally have to stop and say, is this you? And most of the times it is, if we're honest. Most of the times it is. Sandra said, oh, that's so helpful. When I'm working on something tricky, it's that one thing, not everything. It usually feels like the whole world is hard. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Sandra, for acknowledging that. So the main thing he's saying to us as clear as day is learn how to reduce the friction. It doesn't have to be that complicated. It doesn't. What are the lessons that we're supposed to learn in this moment? What is the beauty in this moment? Can we find the joy? Can we find the happiness? Something is going right. Like I love what you just said, Sandra. The whole world is not hard. Your whole life is not hard. I guarantee you, if you look close enough, you will find something to be grateful for. I'm not saying all of it's going to be easy. I'm not saying all of it is going to be um, something worth celebrating in the moment, but there is something. There is something. And I can literally look at my own life now, and I'm so grateful. I am so grateful that I am in my right mind. I am so grateful for the lessons. Everything that got me to this moment, good, bad, or indifferent, I am learning to say thank you. Thank you for serving me. Thank you, because without you, I wouldn't have this much appreciation for life right now. Without you, whatever the circumstance is, without you, I would not have gone on such a deep dive journey of who I am. Thank you. I am so grateful for every experience. I am so grateful. And a lot of times, when I change my own mind and change my own attitude, I realize that my outlook on life changes too. Nothing, and I'm not saying this to be cliche, I am not, but I am just learning that nothing has to be that impossible for me. And again, for those of you all who are faith-based, you'll appreciate this. But there's one scripture that I stand on, and it's in Ezekiel 36, and it's where God said he would restore the ruined places. And so, even on the times or the days that it gets hard, the days that I'm second guessing myself, the days that I'm doubting and I'm fueling my own insecurity and I'm getting in my own way and I'm self sabotaging, one of the things that I'm so grateful for is even after all of that, I can go back and say, God, you said you would restore the ruined places. I'm not going to stress about this. I'm not going to worry about this. That's just me. You have to find the thing for you that will bring you back to reality. And when I mean reality, I mean everything is not bad. There are some good things in your life. You just have to shift your focus. That's what I'm saying. You have to learn how to reduce the friction in your life. And I know we're talking about atomic habits, but I have recently finished a book called Psycho Cybernetics, and it's by Maxwell Maltz. Y'all, that book was a game changer because one of the things that I learned, he talks a lot about your self image. And I learned in that book really a lot of things I learned, but one of the things that I learned is how happiness, we're talking about atomic habits. He talked about how happiness can be a habit, that we really can be happy, and we can have the habits of happiness. And when you can learn how to relax and have the habit of happiness, it's going to be really hard for things to knock you off your game. Or this, you will be able to recover faster. I hope this is helping somebody tonight. Making our habits easier motivates us to perform the action even when we do not feel like doing it. One of the things that I've been doing here lately, I have journals. I love journals. I have a journal for every month. And what I loved doing before was writing my to-do list in my journals. And I literally would do a brain dump either at the end of the day or the beginning of the day. And I just love putting pencil to paper, pen to paper, and scratching things off my to-do list. But since I've been reading this book and going on this journey with y'all, one of the things that I started doing, and this is me learning how to build newer habits and to make my habits easier, is I started taking these big post-it notes. I started taking, let me show y'all. I got it right here. This right here, it's like the big post-it note that I just ordered a bunch of these off of Amazon. And I literally started taking these big post-it notes because I want to make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy. And I started writing my to-do list every week. I do a brain dump for what I have to get done that week. And I put it on my wall, and I put it in my living room, not even in my office. I put it in my living room. It's just me. It's my house. I live here, right? And when I get through doing something, I cross it off the list, and I literally can walk by that wall every day and see it. Do you know my productivity has increased? Things that were out of sight, out of mind, things that I would procrastinate on, I literally have more intention about my weeks, about my days. I'm getting so much more done because I'm doing what this says. I'm making it easy. I am keeping it before me because remember at the beginning of this, I did a review on changing your environment. And because it's here in front of me, I don't know what it was. There's a connection with my brain or something, but my productivity has literally increased. I'm getting much more done and it's working. So what you have to do, my friends, is you have to figure out what is that thing for you that's going to be that law of least effort in your world, whether it's your personal life, whether it's your business life, whether it's your career. What is the law of least effort for you? What is it that you're going to have to say, you know what? I have complicated the mess out of this. I need to just take a step back and do the most obvious thing that's in front of me. And stop trying to make it this major production, but just do lights. I mean, I'm sorry, without making it lights, camera, action, but just take the most obvious step in front of me. And I do have some good accountability too, so that even on the days that I am making things complicated, for example, I have a new training that I'm getting ready to do around John Maxwell's new book, 16 Undeniable Laws of Communication. And I was tempted to make it complicated. And I was like, why am I doing that? So what I did the other day is I just made a post on my social media. And if you're following me, you saw it. I just made a post on social media and I just said, new training opportunity. And I said, if you're interested in this, inbox me. And I put the description and I said who this was for. And I've had some people inbox me. And I said, okay, that was me getting out of my own way, putting it out there. Now I'm going to be sending out these invitations tomorrow. If you are one of the ones who inbox me, you'll get it tomorrow. And I'm going to follow the most obvious steps that's in front of me. I included my executive assistant in the conversation so that she could help me with the process. And I'm literally putting one foot in front of the other, and I'm learning how to increase my productivity, get out of my own way, and make progress at the end of the day. And I'm learning to do this in my personal life. I'm learning to do this in my business life. And y'all, what I'm seeing is that it is really helping to boost my confidence. it is really helping me. And when our confidence is boosted, our self-image is increased. And when that happens, now we're talking about our identity. And now when that happens, we're in a momentum. And now your habits, you're going to be very careful about what habits you adopt because you don't want anything to knock you off momentum. Hello? I hope this is helping y'all. So, again, tonight we're talking about the law of least effort. And so here's just a kind of like a highlight from what we're talking about. James Clear says, we find it natural to gravitate towards actions that are easier to perform. He says, often people choose the easier path because one tends to follow the law of least effort. When building better habits, try to reduce the friction associated with building good habits. Here's the other thing, the flip side of this for the bad habits. He says, try increasing the friction associated with bad habits. In other words, if I'm going to make my good habits obvious, the bad habits I want to lose, guess what? I'm going to make those more complicated. I'm going to make it really harder for me to do the bad habits. So therefore, yes, I'm going to unfollow things. Yes, I'm going to block some things. Yes, I'm going to remove those things from being so easy for me. I'm going to do the reverse of what I'm talking about. And I'm going to make sure that I'm going to make my environment, I'm going to create an environment that is going to be conducive for the habits that I want to accomplish. Right? So those are some things that I just want to leave with you. And here's an action step. I always love to do action steps. So I want you to just think about a habit right now that you are currently trying to develop or improve or increase. And I want you to see, how can you make this thing easier by decreasing the number of steps that's required for you to perform it? How can you literally reduce this thing to the most obvious step that's in front of you? Don't overcomplicate it. And a lot of times, the first thought that you have is the right thought. You've got to resist the urge to second guess yourself or doubt. I could have second guessed myself when I sent that post yesterday about I have a new training opportunity. I could have second guessed myself and said, nobody wants to sign up for that. But I'm so glad that I didn't, because of the responses that I've received in my inbox. Obviously, people want it. I could have second guessed myself when it came to doing this Transformational Tuesday with Tasha and said, nobody wants to hear me. But I'm so glad that I resisted the urge. So that's the action step that I want to leave with you tonight is, what's the habits that you need to reduce the friction? You need to get out of your own way. And then on the flip side, what's the bad habit that you need to increase the friction and make it harder for you to do that habit? You get to decide, my friends. Just like I'm over here deciding too. Every day, we're all works in progress. Every day we have a choice. But when are we going to get to the place where we can literally say, and I'm borrowing words from Grant Cardone, and I loved when he said this in his 10X book. He said, I am the problem and I'm the solution. When are we going to take ownership of who we are and let every excuse go and just live and be who we're supposed to be? My friends, whoever you are, the power is within you. Start small, start where you are, but take a step and start. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight to Transformational Tuesday with Tasha. We are on Facebook, we are on LinkedIn, and we are a podcast on my YouTube channel. The handle is @MaximizedNow. If you're watching on LinkedIn and Facebook, do me a favor and go and subscribe, like, share this channel out on YouTube. And next week, here's what we have to look forward to next week. We're going to be talking about how to stop procrastinating using a 2-minute rule. That's our topic for next week: how to stop procrastinating using a 2-minute rule. Thank y'all so much for joining me tonight. Thank you for being on this journey with me. I'm cheering for you, I'm praying for you, and I'm asking you to do the same for me. And y'all, let's do this. Putting one foot in front of the other, and let's become the people that we're supposed to be. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you next week on this journey of Transformational Tuesday with Tasha. Y'all take care, and I will see you next week. Bye.